I was actually born and raised in Puerto Rico. I was born to a single mom. She was a wonderful woman, and she taught me to believe in myself, to work hard, play by the rules. She wanted me to get a good education, and she just told me that the best thing I could do is just study hard. President Obama is a principled man who has worked hard to put healthcare and a good education in the reach of millions of Americans and believes that everyone who works hard and plays by the rules should have a fair shot at the American dream. I'm essentially a mama's boy with a good education. I was sent to a school because my father was already aware that his days were numbered, and he was anxious for me to acquire a good education and follow in his footsteps. A dog is the greatest gift a parent can give a child. Okay, a good education, then a dog. Growing up, my mom and dad relentlessly emphasized hard work and a good education as key to a better future. Competitiveness is really what it costs you per man-hour to get you what you want. In other words, there's an education level that plays into the mix, and so if it's inexpensive to buy an hour of real good education in places like China versus the US, that factors in. Good education, housing and jobs are imperatives for the Negroes, and I shall support them in their fight to win these objectives, but I shall tell the Negroes that while these are necessary, they cannot solve the main Negro problem. Under these conditions it is not astonishing that learning was highly prized. In fact, my parents made sacrifices to be able to give their children a good education. We must recognize the fact that adequate food is only the first requisite for life. For a decent and humane life, we must also provide an opportunity for good education, remunerative employment, comfortable housing, good clothing, and effective and compassionate medical care. My job is to make sure that if you're a family in Florida, your children can get a good education and you have the opportunity for a job. That's my job, and that's what I think about every day. My father and Mary Pickford were the reigning stars of not just Hollywood but of the world. Well, to bear my father's name was hard enough, but to work in pictures to boot was pretty foolhardy. In fact, my father was totally against it. He thought I should be off getting a good education and go into some safe profession. You see, some non-Catholic friends of mine have questioned the depth of my faith because of the fact that I have a good education. I grew up in a very progressive family and with a great educational system, and I asked myself, why doesn't everybody have these opportunities for a good education? So why not give back to these kids who didn't grow up with the same privileges I had? The value of a good education has never left me. The Indian youth needs to be empowered, and it can be done through good education and vocational training. When it comes to sending my children to college, I want the best education. It's the only thing I'm really leaving them, a good education. I grew up in a household that was a labor household. My dad was a teamster and a milk truck driver. My mother was a secretary. Neither of them got through high school, but they worked hard and they gave me very, very important opportunities to go to school, get a good education. Good education is so important. We do need to look at the way people are taught. It's not just about qualifications to get a job. It's about being educated. Nobody wants to pay higher taxes. But do you want your kids to get a good education? You have to pay for that. Do you want Medicare for senior citizens? I do. We have to pay for it. How much we owe to good teachers, good education, and good advice. I think of it as a good opportunity to let, in particular, school kids know that this job and other interesting jobs in science and engineering are open to anyone who works hard in school and gets a good education, and studies math and science, and that it's not just for a select group of people. A dynamic economy begins with a good education. If nothing changes, if kids don't get good education and parenting, we'll lose. A good education is the most important gift we can give our young people. There are 5 issues that make a fist of a hand that can knock America out cold. Their lack of jobs, obesity, diabetes, homelessness, and lack of good education. All around as a person, on right decisions, on holding your money, on doing your trade, a good education is a must. I don't think I would have done as good without an education. If you want a good education, go to private schools. If you can't afford it, tough luck. You can go to the public school. Getting more girls a good education requires an approach that harnesses the collective efforts of developing nations, donor nations, multilateral organizations, NGOs, private sector institutions. I think the world will just be better if AI is helping us. It will reduce the cost of goods, giving us good education, changing the way we run hospitals and the healthcare system. There's just a long list of things. Our kids are our biggest assets. They are the future of our country. If we provide them good education, no one can stop India from becoming a developed country. Any education that matters is liberal. All the saving truths, all the healing graces that distinguish a good education from a bad one or a full education from a half-empty one are contained in that word. Around the world, human traffickers trick many people into slavery by false promises of good jobs or good education, only to find themselves forced to work without pay, under the threat of violence. Providing good education to all citizens is necessary if India wishes to be counted as a developed nation. Scholarships that allow students to get a good education are important, but first we want to measure the progress that the schools are teaching our students. We want to hold them accountable for the progress. We want to hold the schools accountable for teaching the young people in America. Good education means learning to read, write, and most importantly learn how to learn so that you can be whatever you want to be when you grow up. Religion was a part of our home life when I was growing up. I attended Catholic school. It was a good education, for the spiritual end, as well as for its discipline. The dream doesn't lie in victimization or blame, it lies in hard work, determination, and a good education. What I would like to see is sufficiently good education and health services being delivered to Aboriginal people so that they are prepared and ready to leave and join the economic mainstream if that's their choice. It's really important to say this. Often the faith schools were founded before the state provided education. I want good education in this country, so I'm not going to slag off faith schools. I think that it's important that people of different backgrounds and different faiths go to school together, and many faith schools do that. This is at the heart of all good education, where the teacher asks students to think and engages them in encouraging dialogues, constantly checking for understanding and growth. I was born on December 30, 1930 in Ningbo, a city on the east coast of China with a rich culture and over 7,000 years of history. Although it was a tumultuous age in China when I was a child, I was lucky enough to have completed a good education from primary to middle school. The very spring and root of honesty and virtue lie in good education. A good education gives you confidence to stick up your hand for anything, whether it is the job you want, or the bloke. And the more you stick up your hand, the better your chances are that you will get what you want. Why has elegance found so little following? That is the reality of it. Elegance has the disadvantage, if that's what it is, that hard work is needed to achieve it and a good education to appreciate it. Growing up, I was encouraged to get a good education, get a real job doing something I enjoyed, and, should the opportunity present itself, consider public service as just that, a chance to serve, not an end in itself. A good education is another name for happiness. A good education is that which prepares us for our future sphere of action and makes us contented with that situation in life in which God, in His infinite mercy, has seen fit to place us. To be perfectly resigned to our lot in life, whatever it may be. Women tend to break the network of friends they make, but it is a habit that men have learned. It is an approach to life that involves planning almost without thinking about it, and men sustain this. I came from a northern grammar school. I had a good education, but I didn't have a good network. I think tax is tough in this country. Every time I sign a check to pay tax, it drives me crazy. But at the same time, I'm happy to live here. I want to have a good medical system, good education, good roads, so it's a catch-22. I hate it, but it's a necessary evil. Visit our website for more quotes, quoting.com.